All right, and this is a live press pause radio play, and I'm not the pilot in this.
It's kind of live. It's not, it's not like Twitch.
No, absolutely not. No, I don't know why. It's because me and Rob Rich here, we're bumping uglies. Oh man, if this only came with just you guys always, if you were only here to look at Rob Rich's face, anytime, every time.
Yes, anytime you want.
Anyway, yeah. So he's taking me on a ride for Mirrormoon, and funny enough, I've been trying to give this game a fucking chance. Like, I really have, but there's just so much going on that I can't. I don't know, man. Rob, explain to me why this game's fucking rad.
For me, it's just, a lot of exploration. There's something really awesome about being able to find these procedurally generated puzzle planet things and complete them before anyone else and name them whatever you want. Hopefully nothing juvenile, but, it's Steam, so what do you want? So many poop planets.
But you gotta kind of treat it like it's a high score list in an arcade, and if you could find a succession of planets, I would totally make the most obscene 3-lettered sentence or 3-lettered worded sentence. I don't know, Puck sucks ass or something, whoever Puck was.
Yeah, but you're given I think
Sam.
4 or 5 letters to work with, so you can make actual words.
This is true. Yeah, so no, me and Rob were talking about this game a lot, and he made me realize that I couldn't even beat the tutorial. And it's so funny too, because this is a part that was really stuck on, and when I discovered that you can move planets and do so, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy the premise of the game, I just feel it's a bit short-sighted over what exactly it's trying to accomplish. That whole feeling of exploration is kind of defeated when there's almost hardly anything to explore. It's just a lot of empty fucking planetoids with some slight distinguishing landmarks here and there. And I understand it's supposed to make you feel really lonely and super oh my god, it's space, but man, I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about it.
Well, a lot of the things that set the planets apart is also their location relative to each other, because you actually have to explore. You have to set coordinates on your ship and all that, and travel to the planets in real time. But that kind of sets them apart. And then also some planets have distinct landmarks on them. Sometimes as you're going around visiting planets, you may encounter something that you've never seen before. A couple of times I've gone to planets and suddenly there are constellations in the sky that actually have names and lines connecting the stars. And it's just one of those things where, for me, the driving force behind playing it is not ever entirely being sure of what I'm going to see when I go to the next planet.
Well, see...
And also I get to name the planet whatever I want if I'm the first person who solves it.
Which, by the way, we totally didn't get to name any of the cool planets just because...
It's
the internet,
probably the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the internet here is awful. Oh my god. And it's great, too, because, we get to sit in these uncomfortable offices that they have available for guests downstairs.
They weren't that bad. They had the transforming chairs.
They did. I had no idea that there was so many rotational options for my armrests. But yeah, no, you kind of missed the opportunity to go anytime we fucked with them. But
there were other people in the room. I wouldn't want to do that to them.
Yeah, we've already got to meet some fucking PAX goers here who immediately called us out. Apparently, we carry the PAX appearance. I would say, not really. I don't know.
It's probably more that we were sitting there at 8 o'clock at night with laptops set up, and you were doing YouTube video stuff, and I was doing email wrangling stuff.
Well, yeah, unless we were playing cat videos, which I wasn't too many steps away from. Oh man, so, and it's sad too, cause really the tutorial, cause here, and I'm gonna call it out too, but I mean, there's a lot going on just in this particular area, like, okay, so this is where I remember in my first playthrough I got stuck, this beacon that would come off. So explain to me, like, how you figured out when, like, this beacon was giving off signals, because this is exactly where I remember my first experience when playing it. And I see just, okay, you just turn around and completely forsake your fucking map.
Well, I mean, it's basically when the beacon is going during, like, if it's got, like, if there's dates, if it's daytime, the beacon is going and it's easier to find the right location, but the actual structure doesn't appear unless it's nighttime. So you really have to kind of use...
And that's why you're laying beacons down to make sure you're on the exact same trajectory of turning around and going to the landmark.
Yeah, and usually, like, you have to use other landmarks to try and figure out the general idea of where you were going. Like earlier when I was trying to figure out which way to go, I was actually using the broken up pieces around one of the pillars to figure out, okay, I need to head in that direction. And there's some deviation, but, you know, just kind of finding my way around.
But see, here's my beef, because I feel like this game's greatest strength is its biggest weakness. I mean, I'm all for, dude, I'm that guy that likes figuring shit out. I enjoy studying my environment, picking apart what I need to do, and then piecing, you know, whatever my minor little deductions may be, and hopefully getting a solution to said problem at hand. But this game, man, there's hardly any exposition, absolutely no fucking direction whatsoever. You're just left to your own devices, and like, I need a little bit more than what's found here. I mean, I look around and what's being telegraphed to even do half of the things that you're doing so with like such ease is fucking nil there. I can only imagine, well, like all the stumbling that came. Like,
I played the tutorial.
What is this?
Times. You line up the beams.
Oh, with the map of the planet that you're using that dictates how...
You connect the Mirrormoon, I'm doing air quotes in case you can't hear them, with the planet that you're on.
And see, what... I don't know if this kind of makes the whole thing a little inconsistent, because this is cool, but like... Ah, man, like, well, I would never... like, there was nothing telegraphed. There's not even, like, a vague... Like, give me a vague clue. Like, okay, I'll tell you this.
They're giving you vague clues.
No, they're not.
You see these lines that are just moving across the landscape?
I'm calling it out right now. Antechamber has more fucking direction than this game. Antechamber.
See, the other thing, too, with the tutorial is... What it's doing is it's going through every single one of the mechanics that you're going to need to know going into any of the other planets. The planets aren't going to use all of these mechanics at once, more than likely, but it's teaching you the different things you need to look for. So, like, after you complete this, when you go to another planet and you see those weird automated lines moving across the surface, you know, maybe I should follow them to the end or to the beginning and see what's there. You learn about walking through structures to activate them, which can trigger other things.
But you're doing this all through trial and error. Like, at one point...
It's experimentation.
But, like, it's experimentation left to, like, so many different devices or paths. Like, I understand, like, okay, if you give me a dowsing rod, by common sense, I'm going to assume that this is something that's used to locate water. If you give me a light...
Why? Dowsing rods make no sense out of context.
But, okay, but what do they do?
If I didn't know what a dowsing rod was, I'd probably make a slingshot out of it.
Well, so thank you for highlighting my point. I feel like there's something of inside knowledge, so to speak. It's just that, like, the experimentation, like, I'm not asking for a step-by-step formula. I'm just, like, let me know what the ingredients are, at least. You're just giving me...
That's what the tutorial's doing.
No, you're giving me, like, a shelf full of shit that I have no idea how to put together. Like, what do you want out of this? Do you want a souffle? Do you want a kitchen sink? Do you want a car? I don't know. I mean, there's so many things I can do by your logic. Like,
you just play around and explore. That's the whole point of the game.
How is this that you just, like, totally expanded an entire pathway and just blew things?
You walk through the gateways in a certain direction. It's all experimentation. I think part of the problem is you might be coming at it from the, you know, I guess maybe
idiot
faster.
Perspective.
I was gonna say faster, like the expectation of things to be faster. Mirrormoon isn't a game that you play for like any sort of action or anything like that. It's just these pretty surreal landscapes that you just kind of walk around in, take in the sights.
They're pretty surreal, minimalistic landscapes, which I can appreciate, but it also, like, the subtext alone also interferes with like my direction, my sense of investigation. I feel like everything looks the same sometimes. I mean, okay, you're laughing.
You didn't like the space rain?
Well, okay, so here's the thing too. So you're gonna see us hit some other planets, and I want you to, kind of riddle me this, Batman. Like, why are all the planets that we've conquered with ease or relatively like little to, well, not little, but feature absolutely nowhere near the same kind of depth or complexity that the fucking tutorial possessed? Like, everything seemed fairly easy. Which, by the way, Rob's just don't you dare. Rob's like kind of highlighting the inside. And you even mentioned that, like, because they just throw you into this cockpit and you're just left to like clicking around and seeing what happens. Rob even figured out like a meaning behind a lot of these things that actually will help enhance the way you play it. I mean, I feel like games, when they involve like so much community insight or wikia, because which I'm all for games encouraging that. I just hate games that depend on that shit. Like, unless you have like a wiki up, like.
But a wiki wouldn't work for this because all the different planets are
randomized,
and there are 1,000 planets per. They call them seasons. Basically, when all of the planets in a season have been solved, it moves to another season. So there's a chance, someone could say, "Oh, this named planet on season 2." This is how you solve it, but there's so many fucking planets that's just a walkthrough, a wiki, any of that stuff is just
wiggy,
not really gonna work.
So, but like, there are some cool points that you highlighted with the ship, and I didn't even realize this. Apparently, your ship, again, because there's no fucking directions, apparently.
That's the point.
But, like, you don't even know, there's, like, something vital with fuel that you highlighted. Like, what happens if you run out of fuel?
I'm pretty sure it just comes back after a while. Like, if you stop playing the game for a bit, it just refills. I don't really know if...
Have you ever hit to where you just ran out of fuel and, like, couldn't go anywhere and you were just hanging out in your spaceship?
I did... a couple of times when I was still learning the game, and then I, left the game for a bit, came back, and I had a full tank again. That was when I started
right here, for example, like, this is a planet, you accidentally went to your completed planet that you just went to by actually moving the disc over to the left.
Well, that's because that disc that just went into the drive, the floppy disk looking thing, It's got an A side and a B side. The A side is the tutorial. The B side is the whole galaxy that you can explore with everyone else when you have an internet connection. So the problem was I had the floppy disk on the wrong side and didn't realize it when I hit the button to get it going, which is why I escaped out, went back in, and flipped it over.
So, I like to consider myself a pretty competent guy. I do. And I don't like using the term that like this game alienates because you're right. It's not for the fact, like, I can totally be patient. It's the same kind of argument that I presented to you with certain point and click games. I like things, even when clever, the most clever things still have some sort of hint or even the most cryptic little clue that can help telegraph like a means to an end, a beginning to a resolution. Like, this shit it's esoteric, man. Like, fucking...
You have to figure out the resolution. That's the whole point. You just go in and do stuff, see what happens.
Alright, here lies inherently the issue, though. I mean, I don't know if it's a great... See, I do dig this. Like, shit like this, like, little nuances like this definitely highlight, like, a lot of the visual flair and definitely help distinguish certain planets from others, like elements like weather and shit like that. But again, like, I'm really operating to the point where, like, just there's so much lack of life, which again, it's stupid because it's supposed to be like that. You're in fucking space.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any life.
But I don't know. My whole thing is like basically by your logic, what I'm trying to say is like you're giving me a game that requires a certain amount of math. Like, or, I'm sorry, not a specific kind of math. And my understanding of that math should inherently root through my fundamental understanding of real math. If I use that, I can filter it into the game-specific math and then learn its rules by trial and error. But you see, I'm applying these conventions, these things that I already know, and I keep running into my intellectual wall, man, and I feel like I'm doing that because of the lack of direction. I mean, can you not agree that there are points that you're just like, man, fuck, like, what am
There's totally points where you have no idea what to do, but again, that's kind of the point. And what you were asking earlier about how, there seemed to be like much more involved puzzles in the tutorial section and how the other planets seemed much simpler by comparison. It's like that comes back to what I was saying earlier about each planet being random. Sometimes you'll come across a planet and it'll take you like 20 minutes to figure out how to get through it. And then other times you'll land on a planet and the thing you need to do to complete it is like literally right in front of you. It's all random. That's the point. You just don't know what you're gonna run across. You don't know what you're gonna have to do to fix it. Oh, here I am explaining the toggles.
Yeah, so right here, like Rob was letting me know, for example, like just flipping a light off will indicate what's been done and what hasn't been done within the monitor.
Makes it much easier to see where you've already been.
Nothing. There's not even a label. And like, by all accounts, again, I'm totally into that antechamber shit. I'm totally about like going against the grain and like being fucking like, taking wheels off of a car and that's the only way it can go because it turns out that the car floats. Like shit like that. Going against the grain and totally like fucking with your mind. But I mean, you go into antechamber that with like expectations of that, and not only that, I will give it this, that game does an excellent job of easing you into it. It's just like it doesn't go from like 0 to 11. This game booted up at 11. I want to like it though. It's beautiful, and I like the concept.
It's all observational. That's the best way I can think to describe it. You observe your surroundings. You just kind of drink it all in, and eventually it just kind of sticks. Like messing around with the console, that was just. I was in the middle of like when you travel to planets, it's real time. The amount of fuel you use will determine how quickly you get there. There's actually an achievement in this game for taking 10 minutes or more to travel to a planet, like real time, just one travel. And so there's
all the space weed.
Yes. So I was going for that achievement one night, and so I found this faraway planet. I dialed back the fuel consumption to as low as I could make it, and then I started going. And I just left the game running while it just kind of did its thing, and I was messing around on my phone, and then I decided to start messing around with the console. And that's when I found out that you could turn certain things off and it would actually highlight other things. It's all just, you just play around with it. That's what this game is. You just mess with it and see what happens.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think maybe because I felt so intimidated by like the point of experimentations because the game doesn't do enough to give you feedback? Because I think that's another thing too. Like the relationship of feedback between what I put in and what I got out of it didn't exactly communicate very well. And like, see, you're making it sound like it's so easy, but you have put a lot of time into this game. So ultimately, I mean, is it just something that everybody can get the hang of if they take the amount of time that you invested?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, it's not easy to learn, it's easy to play.
So essentially, like we've come across this whole thing just learning that I'm a stupid.
No, I said it's not easy to learn. It took me time, but I was just content to mess around with it and just explore the pretty planets, and it just kind of sunk in eventually. You start learning some of the tricks. You learn what to look for. You learn the different types of puzzles. You learn that these space egg things are what you need to do to beat each level.
Yeah, see, it's funny. Like I'm watching you do that right now, and like I said, you did that with relative ease.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, anyway, that's Mirrormoon. You could find it on Steam, and it's also on Ouya, which I've been curious to check out. I just hope it doesn't use a touchpad, because this thing doesn't fucking use a controller, and it's really awkward. But get it nonetheless, support the developer, and thanks for watching Play.